Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going on a cultural journey through Latin America.
Ooh.
We're using this study guide for Lecturas Culturales,
Yeah.
which is both a book and a podcast. And it's packed with fascinating insights. We'll be talking about everything from the indigenous traditions to the colonial influences,
Right.
the captivating figures and tantalizing flavors.
Yes, all the things that make the regions so unique.
So get ready for some aha moments. I think that's what we like to call those.
Absolutely.
Those moments where you're like, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think what's exciting is how these diverse elements have blended together for centuries,
Right.
creating this cultural tapestry
Yeah.
that's so vibrant and complex. We often hear this term Latin America,
Yeah.
but understanding its scope
Mm-hmm.
is so crucial for this dive into.
Right. So where do we even draw the lines? It's more than just geography, right?
Yeah, it's actually defined by language.
Okay.
So, Latin America refers to the parts of the Americas where Romance languages are primarily spoken. So those derive from Latin.
Okay.
That means the dominant presence is Spanish, with Portuguese as the notable exception in Brazil.
That's right. Yeah, that explains why Brazil often feels so distinct, even though it's part of the South American continent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And while Spanish and Portuguese might be the official languages,
Mm-hmm.
it's also important to remember the indigenous languages
Yeah.
that are still alive, like Quechua,
Yeah.
Aymara,
Right.
up in the Andes. This linguistic diversity speaks volumes about the region's layered history.
It's like each language is carrying echoes of these different cultural influences.
Yeah.
So how does Lecturas Culturales approach this very vast and complex topic?
Well, the study guide reveals that it's broken down into 5 key parts.
Okay.
So you have sections dedicated to each Spanish-speaking country,
Okay.
followed by narratives about travels within Latin America,
Okay.
and then biographies of influential Hispanic figures.
Yeah. So it's like a multifaceted approach, which makes sense given the region's diversity. What else?
There's a collection of motivational phrases
Mm-hmm.
sprinkled throughout, and a good number of comprehension questions,
Got it.
just to make sure you're absorbing it all.
So it's not just a passive read.
No.
It's prompting you to really engage with the material.
Yes.
I like that.
For sure.
Speaking of engagement, I noticed the study guide mentioned that Lecturas Culturales is bilingual.
Yes, it's written in both English and Spanish. This makes it particularly valuable for those who are learning Spanish or looking to improve their reading comprehension.
That's brilliant. It opens up the content to a wider audience, but it also provides a unique opportunity to learn about the culture while simultaneously practicing the language. It's like a cultural immersion course in a way.
Precisely. And I think the inclusion of motivational phrases adds another layer of depth.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about learning facts, but connecting with the spirit and resilience of the culture.
Absolutely. I was particularly struck by a quote from Fyodor Dostoevsky. He said, "The strength of nature is not in brute force, but in the strength of will and character." It seems to resonate with a lot of the challenges and triumphs that have shaped Latin America.
Absolutely. And speaking of cultural influences,
Yeah.
we can't overlook this concept of mestizaje,
Yes.
the blending of indigenous European and African cultures.
Yes.
That is a core element of Latin American identity.
Okay, so we've talked about the language, we've talked about the structure of Lecturas Culturales,
Right.
but I'm ready to dive into the heart of it. Let's talk about the food.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yes.
This study guide alone is a culinary tour de force. Just reading through the list of dishes is enough to make your mouth water.
I know, it's like a culinary symphony waiting to be devoured.
Yes.
We've got Argentina represented with its iconic asado,
Yeah.
those alfajores cookies,
So good.
the hearty locro stew,
Mm-hmm.
and the ever-popular milanesa.
Yes, delicious.
And then there's Brazil with its rich and flavorful feijoada.
And let's not forget the culinary powerhouse that is Mexico,
Oh, shucks.
with its complex mole poblano sauce,
Oh my gosh.
ubiquitous tacos, of course,
Yes.
and the festive pozole stew.
Every region has its own distinct flavors and traditions. We've got pupusas from El Salvador
Yes.
and arepas and halacas from Venezuela.
oh, yes.
And speaking of deliciousness, we can't leave out mofongo as a
Wow.
dish found in both Puerto Rico
Mm-hmm.
and the Dominican Republic.
It's like a culinary map of the region.
It is.
What's fascinating about these dishes is that they're more than just food. They're cultural narratives on a plate.
Oh, I like that.
Think about asado in Argentina.
Okay.
It reflects the gaucho culture, their close connection to the land, and the tradition of gathering around a fire to share a meal.
That's a great point. And it's not just the social aspect.
Yeah.
It's the ingredients themselves tell a story.
Yes.
Take molo poblano, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought to put chocolate in a savory sauce?
Right. It might seem unusual, but it highlights the fusion of indigenous ingredients, like chili peppers and cacao,
Right.
with European spices.
Yeah.
Mole poblano is a perfect example of how colonialism impacted Latin American cuisine,
Yeah.
blending flavors in these unexpected and delicious ways.
It's like each bite is a history lesson.
Yes.
Speaking of sensory experiences,
Yes.
let's talk about the music and dance that make this region so vibrant.
Okay.
Just thinking about it gets me moving in my seat.
We're talking pure energy here.
Yeah.
This study guide mentions such a diverse range of styles.
Yeah.
The samba of Brazil,
Yes.
the tango of Argentina,
Yes.
the salsa of Cuba.
And the Dominican Republic brings the heat with merengue and bachata.
Yes.
Colombia adds its own flavor with cumbia.
Mm.
And then we have those infectious beats of reggaeton
Yeah.
that originated in Puerto Rico.
It's like a global dance party, with each country adding its own unique flair.
It's incredible how each genre blends indigenous rhythms, African influences, and European musical traditions. This layering creates such a rich and dynamic soundscape.
It does.
And the instruments.
Yes.
The use of guitars, accordions, drums, and maracas adds to that distinctive Latin American sound.
Right.
It's impossible to hear it and not want to move.
Exactly. It's music that speaks to the soul, inviting you to express yourself through movement and rhythm.
Okay. So we've covered the food.
Yes.
We've covered the music.
Yes.
Let's talk about the incredible figures who have emerged from this region. We're talking about literary giants, musical icons, influential artists, and sports legends.
Latin America has truly been a cradle of creativity
It has.
across so many fields. Let's start with literature.
Okay.
The study guide mentions Gabriel Garcia Marquez, the Colombian novelist known for pioneering this genre of magical realism.
Hold on. Can we pause for a sec?
Yeah.
I've heard of magical realism,
Yeah.
but I'm not entirely sure I understand what it means. Could you shed some light on that for me and for any of our listeners who might be wondering the same thing?
Of course. Magical realism is a genre where fantastical elements are woven into everyday life. So imagine a story where a character suddenly sprouts wings or
Okay.
the rain falls upwards.
Wow. So it's not just fantasy.
No.
It's about blurring the lines between reality and imagination.
Exactly. And Garcia Marquez used this style to explore themes of Latin American history,
Okay.
politics, and the human condition in a way that's both captivating and thought-provoking.
It sounds like it's more than just entertainment. It's a way of understanding the world through a different lens.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, who else do we have on our list of literary giants?
Well, we can't forget Miguel de Cervantes,
Yeah.
the Spanish author of Don Quixote. Even though Spain itself isn't part of Latin America,
Right.
his work has had a profound impact on the region's literary traditions.
Because of that colonial history that connects them.
Precisely.
Right.
And then there's Octavio Paz, the Mexican poet and essayist who won the Nobel Prize in Literature. His works explore themes of Mexican identity,
Okay.
language, and the search for meaning in a complex world.
So it sounds like each of these authors offers a unique window into the Latin American experience.
Absolutely. And let's move on to the music world,
Right.
where we have icons like Celia Cruz,
Yes.
the undisputed queen of salsa,
Mm-hmm.
her powerful voice, and electrifying stage presence made her a global sensation.
I've heard her music. It's impossible not to feel the energy and the passion.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
then there's Shakira, who has taken Latin pop to a global audience.
Yes.
She's known for her unique blend of musical styles and her captivating performances.
Her music really transcends those language barriers.
Yes.
You can just feel the emotion even if you don't understand all the words.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Luis Miguel, the Mexican singer, who has captured hearts with his romantic ballads and boleros. His music is a staple of Latin American culture.
Okay. So we've got powerful vocals, captivating performances, and romantic serenades.
Yes.
What's next on our star-studded lineup?
Let's move into the visual arts
Okay.
with Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo,
Yes.
both iconic Mexican artists. Rivera is best known for his large-scale murals that often depict social and political themes,
Right.
while Kahlo is celebrated for her intimate and often surreal self-portraits.
Yes. I've seen some of their work.
Yes.
It's so powerful and evocative. Didn't they have a rather tumultuous relationship?
Yes, they were actually married.
Oh, okay.
Their relationship was full of passion, creativity, and conflict, which is often reflected in their artwork.
That sounds like a story for another deep dive,
Absolutely.
perhaps. And to round out our list of iconic figures, we have to mention Lionel Messi,
Yes.
the Argentinian soccer legend.
Messi's skills on the field are simply mesmerizing. He's a global icon
Yeah.
and a source of pride for all of Latin America.
It's incredible how sports can unite people across borders.
It is.
Okay, we've covered the figures.
Yes.
Now let's talk about some of the traditions that make this region so unique. This study guide specifically mentioned a contrast between Halloween in the United States
Yeah?
and Dia de los Muertos, which is sometimes incorporated into Halloween celebrations in some parts of Latin America.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating comparison.
Right.
In the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
Halloween is typically associated with spooky costumes, trick-or-treating,
Mm-hmm.
and a focus on fear and the macabre.
Right. It's all about haunted houses and scary movies.
Exactly. But Dia de los Muertos has a completely different focus.
Yeah.
It's about honoring and remembering
Okay.
deceased loved ones with joy and love.
So instead of trying to scare away spirits,
Right.
they're welcoming them back.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It's about celebrating the continuity of life and death,
Okay.
acknowledging that those who have passed are still present in our hearts and memories.
That's a beautiful sentiment. So what are some of the traditions associated with Dia de los Muertos?
Well, families often create altars, adorned with photos, flowers, and the favorite foods of their departed loved ones.
Okay.
They visit cemeteries, share stories,
Mm-hmm.
and celebrate life with music, food, and laughter. It's a vibrant and colorful celebration that honors both life and death.
It sounds like a really beautiful way to remember those who have passed.
It is. It's a celebration of life, death, and the enduring connection between the living and the departed.
Okay. Let's shift gears a bit
Okay.
and take a closer look at a few specific countries highlighted in the study guide. I'm particularly intrigued by Brazil and its famous carnival celebration.
Oh, Carnival in Brazil
Yes.
is like nothing you've ever seen. It's an explosion of color, music, dance, and pure joy.
Yeah.
The costumes are extravagant, the parades are massive, and the energy is contagious.
It sounds like the entire country transforms into one giant party.
Pretty much. It's a celebration of life, a chance to let loose, and a reminder of the vibrant cultural heritage of Brazil.
Now let's hop over to Mexico, where the study guide delves into muralism as a prominent art movement.
Yes, Mexico has a rich tradition of muralism,
Mm-hmm.
dating back to the pre-Columbian era. But it was in the 20th century that Mexican muralism really flourished,
Okay.
becoming this powerful form of social and political commentary.
We already talked about Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo,
Right.
but it sounds like there's a whole world of Mexican mural art to discover.
Absolutely. Murals can be found all over Mexico,
Wow.
adorning public buildings,
Okay.
schools,
Uh-huh.
and even private homes. They tell stories of Mexican history, culture, and identity, and serve as a powerful reminder of the country's rich artistic heritage.
It sounds like a visual feast for the eyes.
And finally, let's take a quick trip to Cuba, where the study guide mentions that unique blend of culinary influences.
Yes. Cuban cuisine is a melting pot of flavors,
Yeah.
reflecting the island's diverse history and cultural heritage.
Right.
We're talking Spanish, African, Yucatecan, and even Asian influences, all coming together on one plate.
It's amazing how food can tell the story of a place and its people. Exactly. Cuban cuisine is a testament to the island's resilience
Yeah.
and its ability to blend diverse influences into something uniquely its own.
So from the savory asado of Argentina to the vibrant carnival of Brazil,
Yes.
from those powerful murals of Mexico to the unique flavors of Cuba,
Right.
we've barely scratched the surface of this incredible region.
We have. There's so much more.
And that's what makes exploring Latin America so fascinating. There's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to experience.
Absolutely.
It's a journey that engages all the senses and really expands our understanding of the world.
Yes.
Well said.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we're ready to move on to the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll delve even deeper
All right.
into some of the specific themes and insights found in Lecturas Culturales.
I'm ready. Welcome back. I'm excited to delve deeper into some of the fascinating nuances we've touched upon.
Yes.
One thing that really stood out to me in the Lecturas Culturales study guide was the emphasis on travel narratives.
You're right. It seemed like more than just a recommendation to visit. There's a real focus on the how and why of travel within Latin America.
Exactly. The guide highlights this recurring pattern called Visita como Aprende, which translates to visit, eat, learn.
Okay.
It's such a simple yet powerful framework
Yeah.
for cultural immersion.
Yeah, it's like a recipe for authentic travel. First, you immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of a new place. Then you savor the local cuisine. And finally, you engage with the history and the heart of the culture.
Yes, it encourages a much deeper level of engagement than simply checking destinations off a list.
Yeah.
It's about engaging all your senses, opening yourself to new perspectives, and truly understanding the soul of a place.
I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of understanding, there's one connection I found surprising. The study guide mentions a link between Halloween as we know it and ancient Celtic traditions. I never would guessed.
Right. It's a fascinating example of how cultural practices evolve and travel across continents. Halloween's roots can be traced back to the ancient Celts and their festival of Samhain, which marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter.
And I'm guessing this wasn't your typical harvest festival.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
Samhain was a time when the Celts believed the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead was at its thinnest.
Oh, okay.
They lit bonfires and wore costumes,
Oh.
much like we do today,
Uh-huh.
but their intention was to ward off evil spirits.
So the spooky costumes and trick-or-treating we associate with Halloween today have a much deeper and older origin story.
It does. It's a reminder that cultural practices are rarely isolated. They evolve and blend with other influences, carrying echoes of the past into the present.
Which brings us back to Latin America. We can't discuss its cultural tapestry without acknowledging the profound impact of indigenous cultures.
Absolutely. The legacy of civilizations like the Maya, Aztec, and Inca is woven into the very fabric of the region. It's visible in everything, from the languages spoken to the food we eat and the art we admire.
The study guide emphasizes that understanding this indigenous influence is essential to fully appreciating the complexities of Latin America.
Yes, it's about recognizing and honoring the contributions
Mhm.
of these ancient cultures
Right.
and understanding how they continue to shape the present.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the past.
Right.
Many indigenous communities are thriving today,
Yeah.
actively preserving their languages, traditions, and ways of life.
Their resilience and cultural richness are truly inspiring. It's a reminder that Latin American culture is not a monolithic entity, but a vibrant mosaic of influences, constantly evolving and adapting.
It is. And that's what makes exploring this region so fascinating.
Yes.
It's a continuous journey of discovery, challenging our assumptions and broadening our understanding of the world.
Well said. Speaking of challenging assumptions, I found myself questioning my understanding of Latin American art while reading the study guide. We often hear about muralism in Mexico,
Right.
but I realized I knew very little about other artistic expressions.
That's understandable. Mexican muralism is iconic and easily recognizable, but there's so much more to discover.
Right.
The region is bursting with diverse artistic traditions, each reflecting the unique history and spirit of its people.
So where do we even begin? What are some other art forms we should be paying attention to?
Well, let's take textiles, for example.
Okay.
The vibrant textiles of Guatemala
Yeah.
are renowned for their intricate patterns and vibrant colors, often woven with ancient Mayan symbols and motifs.
Yeah. They're not just pieces of cloth. They're works of art that tell stories and carry cultural significance.
Exactly. And then there's the intricate ceramics of Peru,
Yeah.
often adorned with stylized figures and geometric designs that reflect the country's rich pre-Columbian heritage.
I'm picturing those beautifully painted pots and bowls.
Precisely. And we can't forget about the captivating sculptures of Colombia,
Okay.
often crafted from wood or metal, and reflecting a blend of indigenous traditions and Spanish colonial influences.
So each country seems to have its own unique artistic language.
Exactly. And the study guide encourages us to pay attention to the artistry, to the stories it tells, and to the ways it enriches our lives. It's about appreciating the beauty and creativity of human expression and understanding how art can connect us to different cultures and perspectives.
Okay, so we've got textiles,
Yes.
ceramics,
Yes.
sculpture. What other artistic treasures await us in Latin America?
Well, the guide highlights a few fascinating traditions that might surprise you. Have you ever heard of alfinique from Peru?
Alfinique. That's a new one for me.
It's a traditional art form using sugarcane
Okay.
to create intricate and delicate sculptures.
Wow.
They are often made for special occasions like weddings or religious festivals.
Wow, that sounds incredibly intricate and beautiful. Imagine the skill involved in creating those sculptures.
It's a testament to the artistry and patience of the artisans.
Yeah.
And speaking of unique art forms,
Yeah.
let's talk about mola textiles from Panama.
Mola textiles. Tell me more.
Okay, so there are these colorful and layered fabric panels
Okay.
created by the Kuna people.
Okay.
The designs are made using a reverse applique technique where layers of fabric are cut away to reveal the colors underneath.
Oh, that sounds so intricate.
It is. The mola designs often depict animals, plants, geometric patterns, or scenes from Kuna daily life.
Wow.
They're not just beautiful,
Yeah.
they also carry cultural and spiritual significance
Right.
for the Kuna people.
It's amazing how art can be both visually stunning and culturally meaningful.
Exactly. And that's what makes exploring Latin American art so rewarding. It's a journey into the heart and soul of a culture, a chance to appreciate the creativity and skill of its people, and a reminder of the beauty and diversity of human expression.
Well said. I'm already feeling inspired to learn more and experience these art forms firsthand. Now, I know we've been talking about traditional art forms,
Right.
but I'm curious about the contemporary art scene in Latin America. Is there anything in the study guide about that?
You're in luck. The study guide actually dedicates a whole section to contemporary art,
Okay.
highlighting the vibrant and diverse voices
Okay.
emerging from the region.
That's exciting. What are some of the key trends or themes we should be aware of?
Well, one prominent theme is social commentary.
Okay.
Many contemporary artists are using their work to address issues like political corruption,
Okay.
social inequality,
Mm-hmm.
environmental degradation,
Yeah.
and the ongoing struggle for human rights.
So art as a form of activism.
Exactly. These artists are using their creativity to raise awareness, provoke dialogue, and challenge the status quo. And it's not just about serious issues. There's also a lot of playfulness and experimentation in the contemporary art scene.
What do you mean by playfulness?
Well, many artists are exploring new materials,
Okay.
techniques, and concepts.
Right.
They're pushing boundaries and challenging traditional notions of what art can be.
So it's a dynamic and ever-evolving scene.
Absolutely. The study guide encourages us to keep an open mind,
Yeah.
embrace the unexpected,
Right?
and appreciate the diversity of voices and perspectives that are shaping the future of Latin American art.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in terms of art, but I'm realizing there's another huge aspect of Latin American culture we haven't even touched on yet.
What's that?
Literature.
Ah, you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Latin American literature is a treasure trove of stories, insights, and perspectives, and it deserves its own deep dive.
It does. Where do we even begin? I know some of the big names like Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Isabel Allende,
Right.
but beyond that, I'm a bit lost.
Well, the study guide suggests starting with a few key genres to get a sense of the breadth and depth of Latin American writing.
Okay.
One genre that immediately comes to mind is magical realism. We touched upon it earlier with Garcia Marquez.
Right.
But it's a style that permeates many works of Latin American literature.
Right. It's that blending of fantasy and reality where the extraordinary becomes part of everyday life.
Exactly. And magical realism isn't just a stylistic choice.
Right.
It's often used to explore themes of history, politics, and the human condition in a way that's both captivating and thought-provoking.
It's like looking at the world through a different lens, seeing the magic in the mundane and the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Precisely. And beyond magical realism, there's a rich tradition of social realism in Latin American literature, where authors tackle issues of poverty, inequality, and political corruption. Think of authors like Jorge Amado from Brazil
Okay.
or Mario Vargas Llosa from Peru.
So it's not just about escapism.
No.
It's about using literature as a tool for social commentary and change.
Exactly. These writers shine a light on the challenges and injustices faced by many people in Latin America, prompting readers to question the status quo and advocate for a more just and equitable society.
It sounds like Latin American literature offers a powerful blend of imagination and social consciousness.
It does. And there's another genre worth mentioning.
Okay.
Testimonial literature.
Testimonio.
Yes. This genre is characterized by first-person accounts of real-life experiences,
Okay.
often focusing on marginalized voices and social injustices. It's about giving voice to the voiceless
Right.
and amplifying stories that might otherwise go unheard.
That's incredibly powerful. It's like using literature as a tool for empowerment and social change.
Exactly. Testimonial literature allows readers to connect with real people and their lived experiences, fostering empathy and understanding.
It sounds like Latin American literature offers a diverse range of voices and perspectives,
It does.
from magical realism to social realism to testimonio.
Yes. And the study guide encourages us to explore this literary landscape with open minds and hearts, to listen to the voices of those who have often been silenced, and to appreciate the power of words to transport us, transform us, and challenge our understanding of the world.
Well said. I'm already feeling inspired to dive into some Latin American novels and short stories.
Me too. And the great thing is, there's something for everyone. Whether you're looking for fantastical adventures, gritty social commentary, or intimate personal stories, Latin American literature has something to offer.
I'm also realizing that we've barely scratched the surface of music in Latin America. We touched on a few genres earlier, but there's so much more to explore. Where do we go from here?
Well, let's start by acknowledging that Latin American music is not a monolithic entity. It's a vibrant tapestry, woven from indigenous rhythms, African beats, and European melodies, reflecting the region's complex and fascinating history.
Right, we talked about salsa, tango, merengue, reggaeton, but there are so many other genres I've never even heard of.
Exactly. And each genre has its own unique history, cultural significance, and regional variations.
Right.
For example, have you ever heard of candombe music from Uruguay?
Candombe, that's a new one for me.
It's a vibrant and rhythmic genre
Okay.
with African roots, often featuring drums, tambourines, and a call-and-response vocal style.
Okay.
It's a powerful expression of Afro-Uruguayan identity and a testament to the enduring legacy of African culture in Latin America.
Wow, that sounds incredible. And I'm guessing there are similar genres with African roots in other parts of Latin America.
Absolutely. In Brazil, you have samba de roda,
Okay.
a lively and improvisational genre with strong African influences.
Okay.
It's often performed in a circle,
Mm.
with dancers taking turns showcasing their moves.
It sounds like a celebration of rhythm and movement.
It is. And speaking of African influences, we can't forget about the music of the Caribbean.
Right.
Genres like son and rumba in Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
merengue and bachata in Dominican Republic,
Right.
and bomba and plena in Puerto Rico
Ok.
all blend African rhythms with Spanish melodies.
It's like a musical melting pot with each island adding its own unique spices to the mix.
Precisely. And the study guide encourages us to not just listen to these genres,
Right.
but to experience them, to dance to the rhythms, to feel the music move through our bodies. It's about letting go of inhibitions, connecting with our emotions, and celebrating the joy of being alive.
It sounds like Latin American music is a journey for the soul as much as it is for the ears.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so captivating. It's a reminder of the power of music to connect us, to move us, and to transport us to different worlds.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to expand my musical horizons. What other sonic adventures await us in Latin America?
Well, let's venture into the Andes region, where indigenous musical traditions are still very much alive.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of Andean flute music?
I've heard of pan flutes, but beyond that, not really.
Andean flute music is characterized by its haunting melodies and intricate rhythms, often performed on traditional instruments like the quena and the zampoña. It's a music that evokes the vast landscapes of the Andes, the spirituality of its people, and the deep connection between humans and nature.
It sounds incredibly evocative.
It is. And then there's the music of the gauchos in Argentina and Uruguay. Folklore music, as it's often called, features guitar-driven melodies and lyrics that tell stories of rural life, love, loss, and the freedom of the pampas.
It sounds like a window into a different way of life.
It is.
Ah.
And that's the beauty of exploring Latin American music. It allows us to connect with different cultures, perspectives, and ways of being.
Well said. I'm feeling a serious case of wanderlust right now, and a strong desire to immerse myself in the sounds of Latin America.
Me too. This study guide has definitely ignited my curiosity, and I can't wait to dive deeper into this musical treasure trove.
I'm also realizing that we haven't talked about another crucial aspect of Latin American culture.
What's that?
The concept of personalismo. It's something the study guide highlights as being essential to understanding social interactions and relationships.
Ah, personalismo. It's such a key element in many Latin American cultures, emphasizing the importance of personal relationships and face-to-face interactions.
For those who might not be familiar with this concept, can you break it down for us?
Of course. Personalismo is about building trust, rapport, and loyalty through personal connections, rather than relying solely on impersonal rules or institutions. It's about valuing personal relationships as a foundation for social and professional interactions.
So it's not just about what you know, but who you know.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a network of personal connections that can be called upon for support advice, or even favors.
That makes sense. It helps explain why things like networking, socializing, and building rapport are so important in many Latin American cultures.
Exactly. It's not seen as being superficial or opportunistic.
Right.
It's about building genuine connections that can benefit both parties involved.
Okay. I'm starting to understand the importance of personalismo in navigating social and professional settings. But what does this look like in everyday life? Can you give us some examples?
Of course. Imagine you're in a business meeting in a Latin American country.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for the meeting to start with some informal conversation, getting to know each other on a personal level before diving into the business agenda.
So it's about establishing a personal connection before getting down to business.
Exactly. It's about building trust and rapport.
Yeah.
And this extends beyond the business world.
Like how?
Well, imagine you're visiting a friend in a Latin American country. They might insist on introducing you to their extended family and friends, even if you're only staying for a short time.
It sounds like an incredibly warm and welcoming culture.
It is. And this emphasis on personal connections extends to things like asking for favors.
Okay.
It's not uncommon to ask a friend or family member for help with something, even if it's outside their professional realm.
So it's about relying on your personal network for support and assistance.
Exactly. And it's important to reciprocate this generosity and willingness to help.
So it's a two-way street?
Precisely. Personalismo is about fostering a sense of community and mutual support.
This is so insightful. I never realized how deeply ingrained this concept is in many Latin American cultures.
It is.
It definitely sheds new light on my understanding of social interactions and relationships.
It's a key cultural element to be aware of.
And for someone who's new to interacting with people from Latin American cultures, what's the key takeaway here?
I would say focus on building personal relationships. Take the time to get to know people, show genuine interest in their lives, and cultivate a sense of trust and mutual respect.
That's great advice. It's about recognizing that relationships are at the heart of many Latin American cultures, and that taking the time to build those connections can open doors to deeper understanding and richer experiences.
Exactly. And who knows, you might just make some lifelong friends along the way.
That's the beauty of cultural exploration, isn't it? It's not just about learning facts and figures, it's about connecting with people, sharing experiences, and expanding our understanding of the world.
It's about embracing the diversity of human experience and recognizing that we have more in common than we often realize.
Okay, so we've got personalismo as a key concept. What else is the study guide highlighting as being crucial to understanding Latin American culture?
Well, another important concept is that of compadrazgo.
Compadrazgo, what does that mean?
It's a system of ritual kinship
Okay.
where individuals establish close bonds with non-biological relatives, typically through the sacrament of baptism or confirmation in the Catholic Church.
So it's like creating extended family ties through religious rituals.
Exactly. The compadres, or co-parents, become godparents to each other's children and take on special responsibilities for their godchildren's well-being.
That sounds like a strong and meaningful bond.
It is. Compadrazgo strengthens family ties, creates networks of support, and reinforces social bonds within a community.
And it's not just limited to the religious sphere, right? I've heard of people being compadres even outside of the church context.
You're right. The concept of compadrazgo has extended beyond its religious origins to encompass close friendships and relationships of trust and mutual support.
So it's like a way of formalizing and solidifying close bonds, whether they're based on family, religion, or friendship.
Exactly. And the study guide emphasizes that understanding compadrazgo can shed light on the importance of social networks and kinship ties in many Latin American cultures.
It sounds like a fascinating and complex system that adds another layer of depth to our understanding of relationships and social dynamics in Latin America.
It does, and it's a reminder that family and community play a central role in many Latin American cultures.
Okay, we've got personalismo and compadrazgo as key concepts. What else does the study guide highlight as being essential to understanding Latin American culture?
Well, another important aspect is the concept of machismo.
Machismo. That's a word I've heard before, but I'm not sure I fully understand its nuances.
It's a complex and often controversial concept that has evolved over time. Traditionally, machismo has been associated with a strong sense of masculinity, emphasizing male dominance, honor, and chivalry.
So it's about men being strong, protective providers.
That's part of it, yes. But machismo can also manifest in negative ways, contributing to gender inequality and violence against women.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. The study guide encourages us to look at machismo with a critical lens, acknowledging both its positive and negative aspects.
So it's not about condoning or condemning it outright. It's about understanding its complexities and how it shapes gender roles and expectations in many Latin American cultures.
Precisely. And it's important to note that machismo is not monolithic. It manifests differently in different contexts, and there's ongoing debate and discussion about its role in contemporary Latin American societies.
It sounds like a topic that deserves a deep dive of its own.
It definitely does. And it's a reminder that culture is constantly evolving, and our understanding of these concepts needs to evolve along with it.
Okay, we've talked about personalismo, compadrazgo, and machismo. Are there any other key concepts we should be aware of?
Well, another important aspect is the concept of fatalism.
Fatalism. What does that mean in the context of Latin American culture?
It's a belief that events are predetermined
Okay.
and that individuals have little control over their destiny.
So it's like a sense of resignation or acceptance of fate?
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It can manifest as a belief that things happen for a reason, even if that reason is unknown.
I can see how this could be both comforting and disempowering.
Exactly. The study guide encourages us to consider how fatalism might influence attitudes towards things like planning for the future,
Okay.
taking risks,
Uh-huh.
or pursuing individual goals.
So it's not about saying that everyone in Latin America believes in fate, but rather recognizing that this concept might influence certain cultural attitudes and behaviors.
Precisely. And it's important to approach these concepts with sensitivity and an open mind.
Okay, so we've got personalismo, compadrazgo, machismo, and fatalism as key concepts. What else does the study guide highlight as being essential to understanding Latin American culture?
Well, another important aspect is the concept of simpatia.
Simpatia. That sounds like a positive word.
It is. It's often translated as sympathy or kindness, but it goes beyond that.
Okay.
Simpatia is about creating a harmonious and pleasant social atmosphere.
So it's about being polite, respectful, and considerate of others.
That's part of it, yes.
Okay.
But simpatia also encompasses a sense of warmth, hospitality, and generosity. It's about making people feel welcome, comfortable, and valued.
That sounds lovely. I can see how this would be important in fostering strong social bonds.
Exactly. The study guide emphasizes that simpatia plays a crucial role in social interactions, helping to smooth over potential conflicts and create a sense of shared camaraderie.
So it's like a social lubricant.
In a way, yes. It's about creating a positive and enjoyable social environment.
This is fascinating. I'm starting to see how these concepts weave together to create a unique and vibrant cultural tapestry.
Exactly. And the study guide encourages us to keep these concepts in mind as we explore Latin American culture, recognizing that they influence everything from social interactions to artistic expressions to political dynamics.
It's like having a set of keys to unlock a deeper understanding of the region and its people.
Precisely. And I think we're ready to move on to the next part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the specific countries and their unique cultural contributions.
Sounds good to me. Stay tuned, folks, because our journey through Latin America continues. Welcome back to our deep dive into Latin American culture. I feel like we've already uncovered so much, from the importance of personal connections to the incredible diversity of art and literature, but I'm ready to get even more specific. What can you tell us about some individual countries and their unique contributions to this vibrant cultural landscape?
I'm glad you asked. The Lecturas Culturales study guide actually dives into a few country-specific spotlights, highlighting what makes each one so special. Let's start with Chile, a country that often gets overlooked but holds so much cultural richness.
I know Chile is known for its stunning landscapes, from the towering Andes to the Atacama Desert, but I'm curious about the cultural side of things. What makes Chile stand out?
Well, one aspect that the study guide highlights is Chile's unique blend of indigenous and European influences. The country has a strong Mapuche presence, the indigenous people who have fiercely resisted assimilation and maintained their cultural traditions.
So it's a place where ancient traditions are still very much alive.
Exactly. And you can see this reflected in everything from Chilean cuisine, which incorporates indigenous ingredients like quinoa and Mercan spice, to the country's vibrant folk music and dance traditions.
It sounds like Chile offers a fascinating blend of the ancient and the modern.
It does. And let's not forget about Chile's literary contributions. The study guide mentions Pablo Neruda, the Nobel Prize-winning poet, who captured the soul of Chile in his passionate and evocative verses.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Neruda. His poetry is so powerful and moving.
It is. And Neruda is just one example of Chile's rich literary heritage. The country has produced many talented writers who have explored themes of identity, history, politics, and the human condition.
It sounds like Chile is a place that nourishes the soul as much as it captivates the senses. Okay, where to next on our country-specific tour?
Let's head north to Peru, a country steeped in ancient history and cultural treasures. The study guide emphasizes Peru's incredible archaeological sites, including the iconic Machu Picchu, the lost city of the Incas.
Machu Picchu is definitely on my bucket list. I've seen pictures and it looks absolutely breathtaking.
It is, and Machu Picchu is just one example of Peru's rich Inca heritage. The Inca Empire was one of the most advanced civilizations in the Americas, and their legacy is still visible throughout Peru.
So it's a place where you can really feel the weight of history.
Absolutely. And the study guide encourages us to go beyond the ruins and explore the living culture of Peru, which is a fascinating blend of indigenous traditions, Spanish colonial influences, and African rhythms.
What about Peruvian cuisine? I've heard it's incredibly diverse and delicious.
You're right. Peruvian cuisine is a culinary adventure, reflecting the country's geographical diversity and its rich history of cultural exchange. From fresh seafood dishes on the coast to hearty stews in the Andes, from the tangy flavors of ceviche to the sweetness of picarones, there's something to tantalize every palate.
It sounds like a food lover's paradise. Okay, we've covered Chile and Peru. Where to next on our cultural expedition?
Let's head to Colombia, a country that's often associated with coffee and emeralds, but which offers so much more in terms of cultural richness.
I'm excited to learn more about Colombia. What are some of the things that make it unique?
Well, the study guide highlights Colombia's incredible biodiversity. The country is home to a vast array of ecosystems, from the lush rainforests of the Amazon to the snow-capped peaks of the Andes, from the Caribbean coastline to the vast plains of the Llanos.
So it's a nature lover's dream.
It is, and this biodiversity is reflected in Colombian culture, which is incredibly diverse and vibrant. The country has a strong Afro-Colombian presence, as well as a rich indigenous heritage.
And how does this cultural diversity manifest itself?
Well, you can see it in everything from Colombian music, which blends African rhythms with indigenous melodies and Spanish influences, to the country's colorful festivals, which celebrate everything from religious traditions to harvest seasons.
It sounds like a country that knows how to celebrate life.
It does. And let's not forget about Colombian literature. The study guide mentions Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who we've discussed before. But Colombia has produced many other talented writers who have captured the country's unique blend of magic realism and social commentary.
It sounds like Colombia is a country that nourishes the soul as much as it captivates the senses.
It is, and it's a reminder that Latin America is a region full of surprises and hidden gems.
Well said. I feel like we've only just begun to explore the vast and vibrant tapestry of Latin American culture. What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this deep dive?
I hope they come away with a sense of curiosity and a desire to learn more. Latin America is a region that defies easy categorization. It's a place of incredible beauty, complexity, and resilience. It's a place where ancient traditions coexist with modern innovations, where joy and sorrow are intertwined, and where the human spirit shines through in all its messy, beautiful glory.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface, but this deep dive has definitely sparked my curiosity and my desire to experience Latin America firsthand.
And that's the beauty of it. There's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to experience.
So to our listeners, we encourage you to continue your exploration of Latin American culture. Dive into the literature, savor the cuisine, immerse yourself in the music, and connect with the people. You won't be disappointed.
And remember, Lecturas Culturales is just the starting point. It's a springboard to a world of discovery and enrichment.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep an open heart and mind.
Until next time, keep diving deep.